No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. This was the special Blood and Guts edition of Dynamite, the second Blood and Guts match in AEW history, the first one just over a year ago. This was the first one with a full crowd of people. This show took place in Detroit, Michigan, not too far from where I'm at. Little Caesars Arena, according to Excalibur. 13,000 plus people. Looked like a big crowd there tonight. And what a show. Very big main event for free television. So let's get right into it. We kicked off Dynamite with Orange Cassidy along with best friends. Chuck Taylor is back. Orange Cassidy versus Ethan. Don't call him Adam Page. You had Dan Lambert out there. He cut a little pre-match promo, said that he wanted the best friends in the back, and they left, and we had our match. The crowd was chanting BS, by the way. They were not happy with the best friends having to go backstage. And the crowd was also chanting, "Shut the F up" at Dan Lambert. So we had our match. Cassidy did the whole hands in his pants routine. He tried to slam Ethan Page, but was unsuccessful. And you had Page getting the upper hand for a while. Lambert was doing the Orange Cassidy kicks on the outside of the ring when the referee was distracted. And Page was going for the Razor's Edge, but Cassidy was able to put his hands back in his pockets, and that gave him the power. That's like the Popeye spinach. That got him back in the game. He hit the orange punch. And then Dan Lambert got on the apron. Orange Cassidy ended up taking the orange juice that Dan Lambert had. He took a sip of it, and then he spit it in the face of Lambert. And then he finally was able to, after failed attempts earlier, he body slammed Ethan Page, and he picked up the victory. Orange Cassidy has new music, by the way. No More Pixies. I'm not sure the song he's using, but he may have used it on the indie scene. Don't quote me on that one. I think that was a song he used in the past, but I'm not entirely sure. I think the song's called Jane. Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but he does have a new song. He changed up his music, and Orange Cassidy picks up a big win here on Dynamite. Solid way to start off the show. Pretty entertaining match. And then we had Tony Schiavone on the stage interviewing Christian Cage. Christian said that he was asked by management, and he said that he was told to apologize. He said he's sorry that Jungle Boy's entire family isn't dead. Then he changed that and said that he's sorry that everyone is dead except for Jungle Boy's mother. And he said, give him a call. Said to her, give him a call. Dylan sent in a $2 super chat, says, you were not there live. Obviously, I'm not there anywhere near the arena. I made the decision to not go. I was wanting to go, but had other things going on this weekend and just didn't get around to doing it. But one day I will go to an AEW show. Just a matter of when. We had Christian with a great line making reference to the late, great, ravishing Rick Rude. He called the fans the Motor City Sweat Hogs. I popped for that one. And then Christian said that he did request a match on Dynamite, but it wasn't for him. And he introduced Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus. I guess, is a heel now with Christian. I thought that they were going to slowly build this up over a period of time, but Luchasaurus is apparently a heel now. He's got new music, and I like this actually. I mean, I feel like they could have maybe spread the story out a little bit longer, and maybe there will be more twists and turns, but I'm all for Luchasaurus as a heel, like the whole 65 million years old baby face. It kind of ran its course. I want to see Luchasaurus as a monster. And he beat the holy hell out of Serpentico, beat him very quickly with the snare trap, and he turned it into a nerve hold, got the submission victory. And then afterwards, Christian told him to inflict more damage, and Luchasaurus hit this poor guy with a choke slam on the floor. I'm all for heel Luchasaurus, and, this will ultimately elevate Jungle Boy, and Luchasaurus can get elevated. Looks like no more Jurassic Express, which I'm okay with. Like, they were a fun tag team, but for the longest time, I've been wanting to see Luchasaurus get a big push in AEW. Like, the guy just looks like a star, and I'm curious to see where this goes with him. And then when Jungle Boy returns, he can have a match with Christian, and he can also have a match with Luchasaurus. I'm liking it so far. We then had Wardlow backstage with Scorpio Sky, and they had a little confrontation. I guess next week on Dynamite, there will be a street fight between Wardlow and Scorpio Sky for the TNT Championship. Next up, we had Max Caster and the Ass Boys going up against Danhausen and two partners. Those partners ended up being FTR, which got a huge pop from the crowd. They were very much into FTR. I mean, FTR is just dripping in gold right now. They got the AAA tag titles, the ROH tag team titles, the IWGP tag team titles. They are on a roll right now. And this was a fun little 6-man tag team match. Danhausen tagged in after FTR did some dueling German suplexes to the Ass Boys. He tried a GTS, but then Anthony Bowens, who has been in a wheelchair due to his injury, he walked into the ring. Of course, we got Taz saying it's a miracle. They always use the Bobby Heenan line whenever the heel miraculously recovers. Bowens tried to use the crutch, but accidentally hit his own partner, Austin Gunn. And then Danhausen was able to score the pinfall victory. Afterwards, they had a little post-match angle where Billy Gunn shoved Austin down, blaming his own son for the loss. So, interesting turn of events here with Billy Gunn. Is he siding with Max Caster and Anthony Bowens? I guess we'll see where this goes. We had Sanjay Dutt saying he's tired of waiting for Samoa Joe, and I guess he wants the Ring of Honor television title match at the upcoming Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view event, which will be coming up in the month of July. I guess that's when we'll see Joe and Jay Lethal go at it. They've been building this up for a while. We then had Jade Cargill versus Leila Gray. And this was basically a squash match. Hey, Jade Cargill, TBS champion, actually wrestling on TBS. How about that for a change? And this wasn't in the 9:15 or 9:20 spot. That's because Blood and Guts had to cause them to do their match earlier. After the match was over, Jade told Stokely to get her some real competition, and he started to cut a promo like how there was an open challenge and Leila Gray was the only one that stepped up. And that's when Athena and Chris Statlander ran down to the ring. to attack Jade, Cargill, and the baddies. But then Leila Gray made the save for Jade Cargill, I guess trying to take advantage of an opportunity. But Jade was not happy with this. Jade did not approve of this. She wanted Leila Gray wanted to shake hands with Stokely, and Jade got in Leila's face, and I guess it's not a done deal yet. So the plot thickens. I suspect at some point Athena will get the title match and maybe end the streak. Jade Berg is now 34-0 in AEW. So they're really making a big deal out of that winning streak. The Young Bucks were backstage, and they said that even though they're the tag champs, they're still unhappy. Their buddies, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, all not cleared to wrestle. They don't have any friends left. All they got left are the tag team titles. And they decided to keep the Forbidden Door going, and they have challenged New Japan Pro Wrestling's Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi for AEW Rampage for the tag team titles. So that's actually happening right now as I'm doing this in Detroit. And I suspect it'll be a hell of a match. You guys can check out the spoilers as soon as they're available over on NoDQ.com. And then we had, as Mark Henry would say, the main event, Blood and Guts. The reason that people were all hyped up for this show, the biggest main event perhaps of the year in AEW, the two-ring steel cage bloodbath that is Blood and Guts. Chris Jericho's team, the Jericho Appreciation Society, they were all dressed in red. We had Jim Ross and William Regal on commentary for this. They held off Jim Ross until the end. And by the way, they're doing a Royal Rampage match, basically their version of the Royal Rumble, I suppose, with 10 guys in each ring. So, I mean, maybe like a little mix of a Royal Rumble and World War III is what I'm thinking from WCW, with 2 rings instead of 3 and kind of like a Royal Rumble format. So anyways, Claudio, formerly Cesaro, him and Sammy Guevara started off the match. And of course, Claudio was on fire, doing the uppercuts. Sammy was trying to keep his distance, and he made the mistake of kissing Ty Conti, and Cesaro, or Claudio, see here we go. I'm going to start calling him Cesaro. It's going to take me a while, guys. So Claudio went for the big swing, but then Daniel Garcia came in to break it up, and the crowd was very much not happy with that. We then had Wheeler Yuta coming into the match. He hit some rolling Germans to Garcia and Sammy Guevara. And then Jake Hager came in. Him and Claudio went at it, and the crowd started a "We the People" chant, which was cool. A little throwback moment right there. Moxley then came in, the interim AEW World Champion. And I forgot to mention that the winner of the Royal Rampage match, that winner will go on to face Jon Moxley for the interim AEW World Championship. Moxley had a chair. He used a fork, Abdullah the Butcher style. We saw this in last year's Blood and Guts match with the fork. And Garcia was the first guy to get busted open. He was not the last. The Combat Club was dominating at this point. Crowd chanted AEW. Angelo Parker came in, but he was cowering. He was trying to keep his distance. The Combat Club finally got their hands on him. But then the Jericho Appreciation Society got the upper hand with some steel chairs. Ortiz then came in, and Moxley had some broken glass. He gave Parker a pile driver on the broken glass, and Parker was busted open, and Parker was hanging upside down at one point. That was a pretty intense visual right there. And Matt Menard came in with a steel chair. Moxley was busted open. I mean, what a shock. John Moxley gets busted open. You all knew this was coming. Santana came in with a table and a barbed wire bat. So we got a table. The crowd was chanting for tables. Santana, at some point, might have gotten hurt in this match. I saw something that he was injured during this match. Hopefully he's okay. Moxley was using skewers on Matt Menard. Menard was bleeding. And then Jericho came in with Floyd, hit Claudio with the code breaker. And then finally, Eddie Kingston made his entrance. Eddie Kingston went straight for Jericho. Jericho tried to escape, and he had something like rubbing alcohol. I'm not sure what it was, and I don't think there was any real follow-up with it. Like, I think Ty Conti was trying to give him the rubbing alcohol, and they were struggling to get it into the ring. Was there any follow-up with this? I don't know what the whole point of this was. But anyways, Jake Hager ended up being powerbombed through the table by Eddie Kingston and Ortiz. Wheeler Yuta and John Moxley had some thumbtacks. Claudio was exposing the frame of the ring, kind of like what we saw Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa do in NXT, like exposing the boards of the ring. Although they really didn't do a whole lot with that. So the match continued, and then Matt Menard got slammed onto the thumbtacks. Jericho dragged Moxley into the tacks, put him in the walls of Jericho. Eddie grabbed the tacks and threw him in Jericho's face. Jericho used a fire extinguisher on Eddie Kingston. And then Ty Conti attacked the referee and stole the key, opened the cage door. You had Ruby Soho running down, and she ended up attacking Ty Conti, and they brawled on the outside. D. Martin Fifth sent in a $2 super chat and says, a real American reunion somewhere down the line? Probably not, because they're on opposite sides of the spectrum in AEW, but you never know. I would think it's unlikely, though. It was a nice little throwback. I think that's probably the most we are going to get out of that. Anthony says the rubbing alcohol was used during the commercial break. All right. I must have missed it during one of the picture-in-pictures. And I believe they did the broken glass pile driver during the picture-in-picture. And that's the downside to doing the TV matches and doing the picture-in-picture, because then, you know, you can't really do anything significant because it's on that little screen, and, you know, people will go grab something to eat or use the bathroom. And Curtis Butler, I do agree with you on this, and I'll get to this in just a second. I do think the last quarter of this match was overly telegraphed. I'm with you 100% on this. So let's talk about it. Okay, so Ty Conti opens the cage door, which leads to Jericho coming out. Jericho starts to climb the cage. Eddie Kingston goes after him. And they're both on top of the cage, which we all pretty much expected. Now, there is something that gave away the big spot in this match, which is, you know, last year it was obvious too, and this year it was very obvious. The timekeeper's table. Usually it's just a regular table. However, this particular night, all of a sudden, it's this big ass platform. So it's like the elephant in the room. Like, we all know somebody's going to be crashing through it. And that's one of the negatives. Like, you think back to Mick Foley going off the cell. Like, nobody expected that. Like, by this point, like, everything is so choreographed, and so clean that it just doesn't feel like that big of a deal anymore. But anyways, Jericho and Kingston are on the top of the cage. Sammy Guevara goes up there to try and help Jericho, and he paid the price. Kingston went after Sammy, and Kingston ends up throwing Sammy off the cage. Sammy crashes through. Very safe looking bump, all things considered. So it's cool and all, but we've seen this stuff before, and it was just, like Curtis said, very telegraphed that it was coming. And it seemed like it took them a long time to build up to the moment too. Like there was a very slow period, as Jose Garza said in the chat. So I do agree with you guys on those takes. And Building Nexus with a $2 super chat says, RIP Sammy Guevara, condolences to Ty Conti. Well, I'm sure she's back there nursing his wounds. Let's just put it that way. And Jose says he wasn't even thrown off. He floated off. Yeah, I suppose so. So it was cool and all. But, it's like nothing we haven't really seen before. And we've seen some more spectacular jumps. Not that it was not crazy or anything, but yeah, you knew it was coming. So the match continued, and you had Claudio climbing up the cage, and then you had Matt Menard climbing up there. Claudio did the big swing to Jericho, which was pretty cool. I thought that was a nice little touch, doing the big swing on top of the cage. And Cesaro put the sharpshooter on Matt Menard, while Kingston got the submission on Jericho. The idea here was that Kingston wanted to win the match and finish off Jericho and make Jericho give up. But Claudio took that moment away from Eddie Kingston because Matt Menard was the one that tapped out. So really interesting finish here with Cesaro taking the glory away from Eddie Kingston. Interesting. And I suppose this is, in fact, the end of Kingston and Jericho. Kingston got the win, got his revenge, but didn't get to seal the deal by making Jericho tap out. Angry Tacos sent in a $2 super chat, says, were you sports entertained, Aaron, besides the end? Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun, entertaining match. Do I think it was as good as the best NXT War Games matches? No. I mean, there wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary for these types of matches. I like when they do stuff that I haven't seen before, and that's tough. With all respect and fairness, it's tough to come up with unique stuff in these matches because we've seen it all a million times. So it was a very good War Games style match. Not the best, in my opinion, but a very strong match nonetheless. And it went, with the commercials, it started at the beginning, and it went pretty much the entire second hour of the show. And I've seen the usual complaints. People say this about other long matches, whether it's the Iron Man matches, the 60-minute match, or, the Roman Reigns cage matches, Hell in a Cell match from last year, with the commercial breaks, it kind of takes away the flow of the match. So I totally get that. It happens in both companies. Afterwards, you had everybody on the stage celebrating, and Eddie Kingston was celebrating, but you could tell he was hurt. The poor guy was not too thrilled with how this all played out, and I'm sure that there will be a follow-up to this. Angry Taco said that this is Tony H going forward, No DQ Galaxy. I appreciate that. I was wondering where Tony H had gone, so I'm glad he's still with us, just using a different name. Glad you're still here. I thought maybe you pulled a Ken terminated by No DQ and quit because you didn't get moderator privileges or whatever happened with Ken. So overall, Dynamite was really good. I'm giving it a B plus, and I was obviously not there. I don't feel terrible that I wasn't there. Like I thought beforehand earlier today, I'm like, man, I'm going to really be upset if this is like an all-time great show. And it was very good, B plus. But I don't think it was like one of the all-time greatest matches on Dynamite. Like, I think it was a very good match, but I feel like it maybe fell a little bit short, maybe not enough creative spots in the match, maybe a little too telegraphed. But yeah, I don't think it was the best cage match I've ever seen, or War Games match I've ever seen by any stretch. And the first hour was fine. It was very solid, nothing too special, kind of skippable. So yeah, B plus, with the second hour obviously carrying the show. And the Blood and Guts match, I'd probably give it an A minus by itself, and then the other part of the show maybe a B minus, hence the B plus. So yeah, that's Dynamite, everybody. I hope they come back to Detroit. It was a very good crowd, and they had a pretty big turnout, 13,000 people. Very, very nice attendance for their first show in the Detroit market. And I should have the spoilers up on No DQ very soon. If not by the end of the night, by the morning for sure. But I think they'll be up by the end of the night. For most of you watching this on demand, it'll already be up on the site. Check that out. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Tell a friend. Spread the word about NoDQ.com. Have a great night, everybody. Stay tuned for the No DQ review. And remember to say yes to NoDQ.com. See you all next time.